folks. Welcome to Yachts and Thoughts. Usually say, hope you're drinking your lemon ginger water, but it's nighttime, so I'm drinking kombucha. Yeah, on this episode, I ended up getting COVID. So if I'm breathing a little odd, still have COVID. But now that I finally caught the boogeyman, I have a few thoughts on it. First off, as I'm watching, television, as I'm seeing the news with the COVID thing, COVID, it's had its first platinum hit, I think December of 2019, and then we started doing shutdowns, at least where I am in Minnesota, at the end of February, and, it was a lot of just to-do. On the internet, it was really politicized for a while. It was just the main thing, clearly for a year. Now we've had this, but I didn't know anyone with COVID at that point in time. So at the beginning, it was all news and politicized, and it's like I didn't feel COVID as far as the sickness around me. I didn't really know anyone with COVID, just heard a lot about it and a lot of politics. You know how 2020 went. But this year, January 2022, I'm getting a lot more, it's in my neighborhood now. I just had a friend who had COVID. A lot of people that I work with have had COVID recently. Missing work because of COVID. I just know now more people with COVID than when it first started. The hysteria was there in the beginning, but now it's actually it's actually in the building, if that makes sense. At least with me and my definitely my family, and it's no longer something that's on the peripheral of my life. It's something that's actually, I have COVID, and now know a lot of people who have had COVID, and just keep consistently hearing the stories of people who actually have it, as opposed to it being something, a cousin's cousin got in another state. At this point, I'll give you my basic, what I felt. Today is today is Tuesday, and I'd say last Thursday is when I first felt symptoms. So body aches, I work out all the time, so I really thought that, I'm like, man, I killed the gym because my body is beyond sore. But the one thing, and with the flu, you still get body aches, so I figured it could have been the flu. I've been sick. I was sick in 2020, and it wasn't COVID. I got a test in the hospital. This time I did the at-home test, but I did a few of them, so I'm pretty sure of it at this point. Plus, that Omicron version is ridiculous, at least as far as being contagious. I'm not sure if it's knocking them down the same way as the initial, but the Omicron was dancing on my ass all weekend. Come on and let it touch. Now, with this particular version of COVID, or at least the only one that I've had, last week and in fact, I say last Thursday is when I first noticed it, but I'd actually say last Wednesday, about a week ago now, I had a hard workout, and then I went to yoga in the evening, and I just could not really keep up. And the week before, I was really beating the class. I was winning. I was finally in sculpt yoga, and it felt good. Like I felt like I could roll. I'd say that last week, during the class, I just felt a type of a lethargy. It's not that I was winded. It's like that my body just could not, in a muscular fashion, could not function. I had nothing to give, cardio or muscularly. I just had nothing to give. Yeah. So basically, day one, I first noticed symptoms in hindsight during a yoga class. I had absolutely no muscular function. My respiratory system, or cardio, I guess, was just non-existent. I couldn't really give anything. Day two, Thursday of last week, I noticed really heavy body pains. Like I've had body pains, of course, from the flu, and I also exercise all the time, so I just figured I had a great or very intense workout the day before, and I didn't really chalk it up to being anything flu or COVID related. By the end of the evening, Thursday, my body was not having it. There was just nothing going on. I just felt completely weak, completely lethargic. Like I just had nothing, unmotivated. It just took and especially considering I didn't know that I was sick at all, it definitely is a thing, because it took me away from being the usually highly functioning person that I am as far as energy and motivation. So it just took all that shit out of me. So when I got home from a dinner I was having, where I barely made it through as far as how I was feeling, I took a COVID test and it came back negative that day. The following day, which would be Friday, I woke up, I felt completely lethargic, my body was just not going to function, and I just said, okay, well, I'm not going to the gym. And it's usually pretty hard for me to say that. So I was definitely going through it, but I drank quite a bit of water, and I still went to work that day in the evening. I just figured I needed a rest. Like I had worked out too hard, and my body just needed like 48 hours to even recover from the exercise. I'm in my mid to late 30s, so I have no idea what to expect as far as the body goes. So I had no idea that it was COVID, but I also just assumed maybe it was, I don't know, something else, late recovery. Stayed home in the day from the gym and went to work in the night. The following day, which is my other yoga day in the morning, went to the class. I got up, drank my coffee, really wasn't, considering I didn't know I had COVID, so I had no excuse to feel this way, at least not that I gave myself. I was still feeling unmotivated, like not ready for this yoga class. Jumped into class, barely made it through, could barely breathe or do any of the exercises. It was terrible. Spent the rest of the day on the couch, really chilled out. Felt great the next day. Like I drank nothing but water after class. Felt super good on Sunday morning. Went to work. And work went well. The day went well. I even went to the gym. But when I went to the gym that night, physically I was unable to do anything. Like I couldn't box. I couldn't do anything. I was like, am I getting old? What is wrong with me? The following day, Monday, that evening, I noticed my kids were starting to get sick, and the decision was made in the household to keep the kindergartner home. That's the one mainly going to school. She's the oldest. When we make those decisions, someone at least has to be sick, so she definitely was sick. I felt fine. Today is Tuesday, almost a week after my initial symptoms, and because all the kids became sick within 24 hours, we just all took tests. Everyone in the household has COVID. I feel okay, but I definitely feel like now that I now know what it is that I'm feeling. I know why I don't feel 100%. I'm happy I didn't find out until 5 days later, because at least I wasn't really psychologically thinking about anything. There was no looming worry of, am I going to die from COVID, or is this COVID? It wasn't even the option in my mind to be COVID. I just thought I felt bad from the gym. So I'd say that the Omicron definitely does a lot of dancing and a soul twisting.
We cannot lose, just let it touch.
All right, back on COVID. My camera died, so I had a little change. So on the fourth or fifth day of COVID, which I think I still have, I would say that with the Omicron variant,
And let it touch.
I'd say that fatigue has been the biggest thing. Body aches, fatigue, meaning that I'm just unable to perform any physical task without it being super taxing on my body, my joints, my muscles, everything feels super tight, and almost like a lactic acid type of a burn or a feel where everything is just exhausted. Let's see, today being about a week into it, kids have it, everyone has it, and I'd say at this point, I imagine I'm at the end of the COVID scenario. It's been about almost a week. I'd say that the lingering signs would be that I still have that same fatigue. I went to the gym today with a mask on, and a yoga class. I'd say that once again, still the fatigue is still present, even after you don't have COVID or you're at the end of your quarantine or whatever. I still feel the fatigue of, I mean, I guess maybe what it did. I hope that doesn't last too long. But it is the one thing that I do feel that kind of lingers. Shortness of breath. Just respiratorily, it kind of does it. Now, when it comes to COVID or the fear behind it, there was no real fear here. I mean, once I found out I had COVID, I was almost relieved. Because I'm like, well, at least, I'm in the game and I know, what's going on. I'm not ignorant to I'm no longer ignorant to, what it feels like. I can sympathize. It is a real thing. And it really takes a toll. What I will say, though, is we focus on all this, where it came from, how you contract it. But my whole house got COVID and everyone was pretty much fine. I mean, there have been worse sicknesses, I guess I'd say, in the household that everyone had a much harder time with than the COVID scenario. Results vary, of course. I'm not saying that, if I was older or maybe out of shape or something, that it wouldn't have taken a different type of toll on me. What I will say is that I have a regimen that is, based on immunity or wanting to maintain clarity within self. So lots of garlic, ginger, lemon, vitamins, sleep, exercise, doing all that stuff anyways. And this really just made it harder. I'd say for me, the COVID thing didn't take me out of the game completely, because before I knew I even had it, I was still doing all my normal activities. I still went to work. I took the test later, so I imagine maybe, that even when I was working, I may have had COVID, but it didn't stop me. I don't know if that's just tired or if it's COVID, but it didn't stop me from doing what I normally do. It just made the things that I normally do, especially physical activities, a lot harder. And once again, I practice in my normal life being motivated and always just striving and achieving and going through. If something's hard, I still get up and do it. My routine is structured around, having freedom. So I don't wake up early anyways, but when I do get up and I go to the gym. I have, everyday daily routines that I still hit during COVID. It just made it really, really hard to be motivated to do those and not want to just sit down and rest. Now, I did do a lot of resting a few days back, after I felt those initial body aches and I assumed that I had the flu. I was just trying to rehydrate myself because I felt a big buildup of lactic acid. I never get sick also, so I couldn't tell if I was sick or if I worked out so hard that my body was like just on fire from lactic acid. So I drink lots and lots of water and I felt good for like a whole day. And then by that same evening, it kind of came on again where I felt a little bit achy, a little bit fatigued. Well, I would say honestly, from what I noticed, drink lots of water, ingest garlic or other things that create like a good, healthy, I guess, internal state. Diet and exercise. I mean, if you're gonna get sick, or at least to counterbalance being sick, be in good shape, be healthy, be motivated. Don't wait to get sick to be like, no, I gotta change my life. Your life should already be changed because you're gonna get sick. There are gonna be illnesses. There are gonna be different contagions and pathogens and bacteria. All that shit's gonna be there. But where you are is what is the greater deterrent. I guess as far as like the damage that you could accrue to your health, catching any illness. And may also, once again, we don't really know too much about COVID. I don't know if being healthy detours it. Certainly makes it a lot more manageable. Tired, sorry about that. Once again, I just felt a lot of fatigue. No coughing. I didn't lose my taste or smell. Everything tasted and smelled delicious. throughout my time with COVID. And I'd say that, honestly, I lost like 5 pounds, and that was just because I was actually probably recovering from the gym and took complete rest, for a couple days. There were a couple days that I didn't go. So I've had it for about a week, and I'd say I missed the gym 2 or 3 days. Also, this second half of the video, I'm doing the day after. So I still, once again, went to the gym and try to do physical activities. Felt a little bit of rundown, but I'd say I'm at about 85-90% as to where I'm just going to do everything anyways. If I'm doing it to the best of my ability, it won't be my normal 100% ability. At the end of the day, just keep yourself together, maintain a solid health regimen, and I don't think you should really have too much to fear when it comes to COVID, based on you not having any pre-existing conditions that, if exacerbated with another illness, would kill you anyway. So yeah, just keep your shit together. This is Yachts and Thoughts. You have a good evening. COVID-19.